Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Gita class with some mantras. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advait Amritvarshinim Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Am Tvam Anusandhame Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshine Namo Astute Vyas Vishal Buddhe Full Arvind Ayat Patra Netar येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः परपान्न पारी जाताये तोत्र वेत्र एकपाने ज्ञान मुद्राय कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरम मर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्ये ग्रावती कृपेन वाहने कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोरमकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तने सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन नदी कवर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलम गीता अर्थ गंधोटकम नाना ख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधिकम लोके सज्जन षटपदय रह पिय मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरम यत्कृपातमहं वंदे परमानंद माधवम यं ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवे वेदै सांगपद क्रमोपनिषदै गायन्ति यं सामगा ध्यानवस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुषुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. Chapter 6 Atma Sanyam Yoga, and Lord Krishna has been instructing us how important meditation is, how important it is to control our senses. Then Arjun had a little doubt that this mind is so powerful, it cannot be controlled. Then Lord Krishna says, no, I understand it is powerful, but with Abhyas and Vairagya, you can control it. Now, last week we saw Arjun had another doubt. He said, you said you got to keep on doing the practice for a long time. And while a person is doing the practice faithfully, sincerely, but leaves the body, time has come to leave. What will happen to that person? That person did not enjoy this worldly life, spend time into the meditation or controlling the senses, so did not enjoy the worldly pleasures and neither reached that blissful state which he was talking about. What happens to that person? So this was verse number 38, where he said, fallen from both, does he not, O mighty armed, perish like a weak cloud, supportless, deluded in the path of Brahma? And he says, this doubt of mine, O Krishna, please dispel completely. Because it's not possible for anyone but you to dispel this doubt. So doubts do come in a student's mind. But it's a guru's responsibility to remove the doubt. And Arjun has a full faith in his guru, that only you can do it for me. Let's see what Lord Krishna says in verse number 40. Parthna eva hi amutra vinashaha tasya vidyate nahi kalyan krit kashchit durgatim tat gachati. Parth, that is Arjuna. No means not, eva, verily, ih, here, amutra, in the next word. So it's like a now and afterwards. Vinashaha, destruction, tasya, of him, vidyate, is. Na means not, he is verily, kalyan krit, he who does good. That means who strives for God realization. The person who is on the path. Kashchit, anyone, durgatim, bad state of grief or evil destination. Durgati. Tat, oh my son, gachati, goes. Lord Krishna says, O Parth, neither in this world nor in the next world is there destruction for him. None verily who strives to do good, O my son, ever comes to grief. We'll see that in next 5 verses, Lord Krishna is trying to explain the path of progress of a seeker who is endeavoring on this spiritual path. So that's why in this very opening section, Lord Krishna is assuring with this emphasis that neither here nor in the hereafter is there for him any destruction. For whom? Who performs the right action. So that means we got to do our sadhana, we got to stay on the path. So our duty we must do diligently. This is the science of life. That's why it is explained completely. The whys also, the hows also. And Lord Krishna is supporting his statement with the philosophical truth. Never for the doer of good, dear son, even though they are about the same age. But the relationship between a guru and a disciple is always like a parent and a child. So never for the doer of good, dear son, a woeful end. That's what he's telling him. The future is but a product of the present. We know that. So if somebody is acting good, doing good, thinking good, the future will be good. Good is that which yields success in the future. Joy in the future. That is good. So the present is the product of the past. And thought by thought, action by action, knowledge by knowledge, we are creating our blueprint for the future. We got to remember that. This is the philosophy. So this verse is asserting that God preserves the devotee both in this world, because the devotee has decided to do good, and the world hereafter. So it's a very strong pronouncement by a great guru over here. So never can we find a more optimistic note of hope or cheer in any philosophy in the world. So doer of good, oh my son, never comes to grief. Doer of good. So we got to remember that. Always do good. Continuation of this, Lord Krishna says, Prapye punye kritam lokan ushitvaha shashvati samaha Shuchi nam shrimatam gehe yog bhrashtaha abhijayate. Prapye, having attained punye kritam of the righteous. So people who are doing good deeds, lokan worlds, ushitva, having dwelt, having lived, shashwati, many, like everlasting, samaha, years or ages. Shuchi nam, of the pure, the pious. Shrimatam, of the wealthy, prosperous. Gehe, in the house. Yoga bhrashtaha, fallen from yoga. That means unsuccessful yogis, walking on the path but not reach the destination. Abhijayate is born or takes birth. And having dwelt there, yoga is born again in the house of the pure and the wealthy. So the unsuccessful yogis upon death go to the abodes of the virtuous. After dwelling there many years, many lives, they again are reborn on the earth plane into a family of pious and prosper, okay, good families. We all know that actions in life can be mainly classified into good and evil. Pursuer of evil can only slip down on this path of evolution. But people who are climbing on this path of good, they will climb into the higher way. So that kind of a point they are reaching at. So, and even all good activities, see, first there are two kinds of actions, good and evil. But even among the good, there are two main headings. Actions performed with desires and actions performed in the spirit of dedicated love and worship. So good actions, they are further divided. So if you are doing good to fulfill the desires, which are called sakam karma, sure, to reap those fruits, will go to those places. So there will be two different kinds of routes of progress. So this is what Lord Krishna is discussing over here. In this verse, he says they'll be taking their births here again in the world, in the houses of the pure and the prosperous. So people who have been living here, employing themselves in the worship of the Lord with desires for heavenly enjoyment. After death, they will reach there, they will enjoy that, and then come back again. So it's almost like a burning. The desires of every human creature will be fulfilled at one time or the other if this desire is strong enough. Okay? The circumstances, the situation, and the family of birth, it is very important. It has a very important bearing upon the course of our life. And it is not just a coincidence that we are just put into certain family. It's all because of our own karmas. That's what Lord Krishna is saying. From our bodily parents, we derive physical heredity, some characteristics, the way we look, or whether we have a healthy physical body, not healthy. This is the genetic process of heredity. But there is also a process of social heredity. Because sometimes we just follow some blind customs because of the social environment of our upbringing. That is also heredity. So if the place and family of birth are arbitrarily divided in every life, then there won't be any justice. So Lord Krishna says there is a justice. All of this is where you were born, how you were born. This is all because of karmas. So now in verse number 42, he's telling us those seekers who are doing actions selflessly. You remember I told you that there are two kinds. Actions performed with desires, sure, they reach the heavenly reward and then come back again. But those that are performed in a spirit of dedicated love and worship, what happens to them? Because those are the actions of a yogi. Athva yogi nam ev kule bhavati dhimatam etat hi durlabhtaram loke janam yat idrisham. Athva, or else, yogi nam, of yogis, of those endowed with divine wisdom. Those are yogis. Ev means even, kule in the family. Bhavati is born. Dhimatam of the wise. Etat this. He is verily durlabhtaram. Very difficult, very rare. Loke in the world. Janam birth. Yat means which. Idrisham like this. This is or. He is even born in the family of the wise yogis. Verily, a birth like this is very difficult to obtain in this world. So the continuity of the past is clearly noticeable, because this is the theme of these stanzas. Those who are pursuing selfless sadhana, they will gain more and more inner integration. And the result of that sadhana, they become dynamic minds capable of the highest meditation. Because more integrated the personality, the more spiritual a person becomes. And this kind of a personality will arrive at in a family of yogis to strive more diligently and achieve the highest. Such a jeev, as soon as it leaves one embodiment, immediately comes to manifest itself in a conducive atmosphere. Right away. And in that conducive environment, this jeev continues its pilgrimage without any obstruction. That's why he says, born only in a family of wise men of meditation. And examples of great masters can be considered as supporting this philosophical theory. Such men of brilliant genius, from their very early youth, they exhibit superhuman knowledge, godly wisdom. And we know it's rare also. Find a family like that. And Lord Krishna is talking about Dwapar Yuga. Kali Yuga, it's even rarer than that. Because it's like a effect of the Prakriti, the Maya is so strong. Very few people diligently practice this. With a selfish motive, sure, some people can practice it. But selfless motive, very rare to obtain in this world. So this verse explains the lives of the few who, after departing from one embodiment, immediately arrive in this world, because sometimes we wonder, how long does it take? Immediately, he says. Because he wants to start the journey again towards the path of perfection. Path of perfection. And after reaching such conducive and helpful environments, will the fallen yogi of the last life continue his spiritual life? Listen to this. Lord Krishna says, Tatra tam buddhi sanyogam labhute porva dehikam yatate cha tata bhuyah samsiddho kuru nandana. Tatra there means in that family, that place. Tam means that buddhi sanyogam, union with knowledge, or reawakened with wisdom. Labhate obtains, porva dehikam, from the previous lives. So that means that wisdom which was acquired in the former body. Yatate, strives, cha means and, tataha, then that, bhuyaha, again. Sam siddhau, for perfection, Kuru Nandan, or son of the Kurus. There he comes to be united with the knowledge that wisdom acquired in his former body, and strives more than before for perfection. So that person doesn't think that I am born in a great family, a family of a yogi, my job is done. No. Strives harder than even before. Starts it earlier. Because sometimes the doubt comes into our mind that when we start all over again, will we start from the beginning? He says, no. Wherever you left off, you'll remember in the deeper grooves of your mind that knowledge will erupt. So he's removing the doubt from our mind that you might have to start all over again. He says, no. So in his new life, under the conducive circumstances, naturally gets united with the intelligence acquired in his former life. Because where are the impressions stored? They are in the subtle body. Physical body we discard over here, but the subtle body goes with us, and all these impressions are in the subtle body, they erupt. So this goes with us. So such a born yogi completes his education much more easily. Because it is not an education of the physical world. This person thinks that I'm just revising this. I knew it before, now I'm revising it and I'm just practicing it. So in very short time, this person discovers that all knowledge is bubbling up from inside. So no matter what this person is studying, it's a rediscovery of a digested knowledge, which was already lying dormant in him. So not only this person comes to discover in himself the knowledge he has learned in the past, but easily he finds himself the required enthusiasm and energy for consistent self-application and vigorous pursuit. Because you need that enthusiasm. You need the Sankalp Shakti also. So he finds that in himself. Because knowledge without practice is a dull, dreary load. It's like a burden, knowledge itself. But when we apply that knowledge, that becomes we become full of energy. So whatever, and what is this knowledge actually? What are we talking about? It is like in the past life. If we accumulated detachment, that's a knowledge. Detaching from the temporary and want to attach to the real, that's a knowledge. Vairagya, wisdom, devotion, faith, tolerance, determination. This is the knowledge he is talking about, the ultimate, the qualities which we need as a seeker, as a sadhaka. So these are known to him. And the appropriate time, this person will use these. Wherever it's needed, will use it. And all the past efforts are helping him. Spiritually, within. Okay, so whatever was gained, it is helping him. So he will strive more than before towards the perfection. How can a person get united with the intelligence acquired in his former embodiment? Sometimes that question comes to our mind. Let's look at verse number 44. Purav abhyasen ten ev priyate hi avshaha api sah jigyasu api yogasya shabad brahma ati vartate. Purav abhyasen, former practice, past discipline. Ten means by that. Ev means verily, hiyate, attracted, or is born. He means indeed, avashaha, helplessly. Api means even, sa means he, jigyasu, who wishes to know. Inquirer. Api means even, yogasya, of yoga. Shabad Brahma, the word Brahma, Shabad Brahma. It's like a fruitive portion of the Vedas, Shabad Brahma. Ati Vartate, transcends or goes beyond. So by that very formal practice, he is born on in spite of himself. Avashaha. Even he who merely wishes to know yoga goes beyond the Shabad Brahma. Shabad Brahma over here means the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. Just merely doing rituals. That is at a, sure, that is a progress, but it is at a lower level of progress. He says, who wishes to know yoga, who has developed this kind of an inclination that I want to become one with God. That is my goal. Because the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, they talk more about the fruits. If I do this yajna, I will get that fruit. If I do this dan, I will get that. So that is called a Shabad Brahma. Higher than that is I want to know, and I want to become one. And ultimately moving towards that, becoming one. So he says, former practice. So for future births, whatever we are practicing, this is a formal practice. So we should start practicing. And what is the practice? What he has talked about earlier, the meditation. That was the practice. Controlling the senses. Bringing your likes and dislikes closer. So all that which is talked about in this chapter, that is the practice. So by that very formal practice, born on in spite of himself. This is a law of reincarnation. We see that even in this lifetime, whatever we have learned in the past, we can use it. We do use it. If we learned how to speak sweetly, correctly, in spite of ourselves, we will do that because we have practiced. So these are the qualities which we take with us in the future lives also. That is how in history, the great princes, the wealthy businessmen, or the noblemen, they renounce the comfort of their world or the worldly positions. They became yogis, they became sages. Instead of being hungry for the world, with the help of the practice, they became hungry for God. That hunger continues. This is the hunger we need to develop. This is the seeking we need to cultivate in ourselves. So after observing this philosophical truth, Lord Krishna is naturally tempted to express the glory of meditation. He says, one who has even the desire to know, that is a yogi. He passes beyond Vedic rituals. Okay, so Shabad Brahma word, do not get confused with this. Over here, it only means the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. So even the inquirer in the path of meditation goes beyond the finite fruits of the worshipping Om. Okay, so you got to rise above it. And how is the path of meditation nobler than all others? That's what he's going to tell us in the next verse, which we'll learn next week. So let's stop it over here, and then Urmil is going to go over these verses in English, today's verses and last week's verses also. And she'll try to explain also. And after that, Nani will sing the bhajan. So, Om Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om.